So the opening title sequence originally, I'd seen this short film at the Atlanta Film Festival years ago. It was in an experimental film block, and it was truly experimental. It was this like all these like microscopic images, like this montage of these like organic time lapses and images and stuff that I just thought was really compelling and hard to explain, which lends to the effectiveness of it even more. And I'd reached out to the filmmakers saying like I would love to do something like that for the opening titles of Cells, because I feel like it kind of lends itself to what I'm trying to do with the double entendre, if you will, of the title. And they got back to me and said, yeah, we can do that. It'd be about $25,000. And so I said, I'll get back to you. And unfortunately, I was unable to conjure up that amount of cash. So we reverted back to our original idea of this montage of Christmas decorations in affluent neighborhoods that producer Brooke Todd and I, it's actually the very, very first thing that we shot. We drove around Christmas Eve night of, I want to say, 2014 and shot, preliminarily just shot a whole bunch of B-roll that we were able to cut into the opening credits, and then didn't actually begin principal photography till early 2015. Mark Ashworth, a great actor that I've known, worked with a couple of times, worked with him on a web series, a couple of other things, and the idea of Cells really was kind of born out of a couple of things. It's kind of a utility picture, for lack of a better term. I'd made a short film, and I'd taken it to the festival circuit and tried to get it screened a bunch, and it didn't do very well. It wasn't accepted into many festivals, and so the ones that I was accepted into, I went to, and any other ones I could attend, I went to, and had a very studious approach to understanding what kind of short films were accepted into festivals, and what kind of short films gained notoriety, and what kind won awards. And I was able to break it down to a couple of things, 3 things actually. The films that seemed to do really well in film festivals seemed to have one of 3 things, which was you had a really big star in your movie, you had really, really high production value, or you had a really strong social justice message. So I thought, what if I could make a film that incorporated all 3, or at least as close as I could get to all 3 of those elements as possible. So Mark had just come off of The Magnificent Seven and Lawless, and been the lead in Justin Robinson's great little short film Grape Soda. So I thought that he brought, not only was he a fantastic actor, he brought a level of notoriety to the film. We did a lot of tests with lighting and camera movement, and spent a lot of time on production design, a lot of time in prep to really make sure we had the best production value that I could pull off. And then in terms of the social justice message, like, this is probably a cause that was at the time one of the ones at the spear point of my vitriol toward society, which was, charities and how funds get misappropriated when people spend their hard-earned money to donate to charities. And, I often joke that if I had $1 million, I'd give it straight to a doctor who could actually do good. And so this film is just taking that to the most exaggerated conceivable form, and putting it in the guise of this home invasion thriller. Ben Owen, who plays the antagonist here, is someone that I've worked with again many times before, but mostly in comedic material. And I just kind of had this idea that if I could cast him against type, I thought he'd be really, really strong in this role. He'd bring a lot to it, and would be eager to do so. And I was right. He brought a lot to this role, and kudos to him, because he had come off of another show like the day before we filmed this, and so then had to come and cram all of his lines. And I was asking these guys to do. I mean, the whole film is a 10-minute conversation between these two, mostly between these 2 characters. And I was asking them for much of the shoot to perform the script in its entirety many times, and so yeah, it was a challenge, but we prevailed. I thought we did really well. And lastly, Tanya Bryson, who plays the wife. She is someone I've also worked with. And this house actually belongs to her and her husband. Her husband is Peebo Bryson, the renowned R&B singer, and they live in this house in Atlanta, and were kind enough to allow us to invade for a number of nights, overnight shoots, to come in and shoot this. It's an interesting thing to put an actor in a mask. You think of these performances where most of one's face is obscured, and how much has to be still portrayed within the tone of their voice and the just the emotion in their eyes. And I have a lot of respect for what Ben was able to do with this. The extras that you see kind of in the background, the remaining masked figures who never speak, we kind of recycled them from shot to shot. I don't know. I think we maybe only had 3 or 4 guys, but never all at the same time. I think we had to, place a few of them behind Mark for his coverage, and then place a couple of the same guys and to Tanya's shot, and place another one behind Ben and his coverage. And so we're kind of artificially inflating the number of intruders in the film. It's a really interesting constraint to write a character who is ultimately not the antagonist that he's painted to be throughout most of the film. His intentions are actually good and pure, but his behavior is meant to incite a level of fear that engenders honesty, complete honesty from the doctor and his wife, and to make sure that he's doing the right thing. So is to behave in a way that appears sinister, but isn't really interested in inflicting any harm or doing anything untoward toward them. And it's an interesting thing too that the film being British, in the UK, guns are not carried by police officers. There's a very different view of personal firearms there. So their presence and the fact that they are wielding weapons is kind of, it's creating a more frightening scenario than maybe we in the West would think. A lot of people ask about why the film has all British actors, and I wrote the role of the doctor for Mark, who is British in real life, and then just decided at some point during casting to just lean into that conceit, cast all British actors, set the film in the UK, and then if someone indirectly was led to believe that this was a foreign film, then no harm, no foul. Production, like I was saying earlier, took place over a pretty extended period of time. We shot the opening footage in the end of 2014, shot the majority of principal photography in early 2015. Then circumstances arose in which I was then asked to go make a couple of feature films. So that kind of ate into the time we'd allotted to finishing Cells. And then I think it was 2017, by the time we were finally able to get around to putting together the finishing pieces, and that some of that included a couple of shots. Actually, there are 2 shots in the film that were shot, I believe, almost exactly 2 years later. One of those being the shot of the glass falling and breaking early in the film, and then the second being the shot from under the table as the candy is poured on there. And it's one of those things where we kind of always knew we needed those shots or something in those places, and we just always intended on filling those in later. But there's also great power, and you don't always get to do this, especially in commercial work. I do a lot of commercial and corporate work, and you're always usually on a strict deadline. You don't always get the chance to let something ruminate, And in this case, because we didn't have any impending deadlines, at least not any that were imposed by anyone other than ourselves, it gave us the opportunity to kind of let it evolve and let it kind of be cut together and then sit and then let us come back to it and make adjustments and then let it sit and let it and come back to it. And there's a lot you're able to do when you have the freedom to really kind of devote the time to something and devote time to giving yourself space from it and coming back to it. It's so hard. I mean, that's the hardest thing. To me, one of the hardest things, I guess, in directing is trying to adopt an objective point of view on your work. It's impossible, but we try our best to get somewhere in the ballpark of understanding what this is like, what this experience is like to someone who's never seen this before. And one of the ways I think that you can do that is by creating distance between yourself and the work when you're able to. So I would suggest people try to work that into their budgets and schedules. You know, I work in, now when I'm doing films, I work in reshoot days or pickup days in the actual schedule. Like I just leave blank days open with the full crew and everything, knowing that there's going to be some stuff that we're gonna learn some things throughout the process of shooting, and we're going to be able to, as long as we give ourselves that cushion, we're going to be able to go in and refine things and take another stab at things that we didn't quite get right the first time, that we now have. You know, if we shot something on day one and now we've realized 2 weeks in that character dynamic would actually be better if it unfolded another way, then we have the ability, without losing anything, to go back and reshoot what we shot on day one. And I do that a lot. And I think it's, you know, it's, to the uninitiated, it sounds profligate, but once you start to understand the process and get a grasp on it, you understand the power that comes with allowing things to evolve and giving them the space to become the best version of what they can be. And that's my philosophy.